Good morning and welcome to the Saturday special edition of Dr.Lamba's Awakening Call. For forms of government, let fools contest. Whatever is best, administered is best. And this was spoken by Alexander Pope way back in the 18th century. But what he said at that time is equally pertinent and true today. And irrespective of the form of government that you live under, be it a dictatorship, or totalitarian state, a democratic state, or a sultanate, a kingdom, a monarchy. You want law and order to be maintained. You want your economic needs to be fulfilled, especially relating to food, shelter, education of the children, health. In short, the basic needs as well as the basic comforts provided to you and your safety, your personal safety, the life safety and the property safety is guaranteed. More than that, people are not concerned. They don't bother. As a matter of fact, the other things come into picture only when the governance is acceptable as far as the needs of the people are concerned. And as I said, needs are basic needs, some comforts, some social needs, and some psychological needs. And now we have seen that democracy has practically failed. Whatever the form of government may be, what's most important is a matter of trust. And if the trust is not there, the government is not worth its salt. Again, it's irrespective of what sort of the government it is. The other day, a couple of my friends came and we started discussing with the forms of government. And one of them said, why not revert to monarchy? As a matter of fact, there have been a lot of discussion. Should we revert to monarchy? Or in Canada, break the monarchy links altogether? The situation of the democratic countries, by and large, leaving countries like Scandinavian countries and Switzerland aside, is not a very happy one. Where there is the largest democracy in India, or whether it's the biggest democracy in USA, whether it is the guided or the army-controlled democracy of Pakistan, all over people are tired of their democracy. Democracy at times has either become a handmaid of totalitarian state, the party in power, one party, as in Russia, as in China, or it has indulged into mobocracy, the rule of the mob. So, is the monarchy an option out of it? Yes and no. Now, let's consider the forms of the government. Way back, Aristotle had said that the beginning it was the real democracy. And that was pertaining in ancient Greece. And referendum, I recall, are granted in Switzerland, so it's there. But in most of the places, what happens, once you elect a person, good or bad, once he is in power, you have no right to keep a check on that. You hire a servant, you hire an employee, and you conduct a review, an yearly review, a monthly review. But here, there's no review. There's no audit. There's no performance check. And the person becomes a totalitarian dictator. That has been happening all over. Of course, after 4 or 5 years, you can throw the person out. But the manipulations can be there. And they are there. So Aristotle said that in the beginning, it was basically a familial rule. The head of the tribe would be the ruler. And then when the expansionism came, the tribes fought with each other. The most powerful person became the king. So that was the start, the king. And then there was the challenge to that. And the kingdom slowly, because of the impact of the nobles and the more powerful landlords and others, became oligarchies. The king was the ruler in name, but the real king power was in the hands of oligarchs, like barons in England, feudal lords. They were sustaining the kingship. So people became tired of that. And slowly and steadily, the oligarchy gave place to democratic setup. Now, when the democracy came into being, there were two ways. One was a pure democracy, or semi-pure democracy, which happens, as I said earlier, in Scandinavian countries, which though constitutional monarchies still have a very strong democratic streak, or in Switzerland. And then so-called democracies, which were democracies but were not real democracy because people had no right to recall. There was no referendum system. So people thought that this is not really the representative forms of the government. And then these democracies ultimately became mobocracies, the rule of the mob. So there's a state now in most of the countries. And people are imagining, why not revert back to monarchy? Should we? Should we not? The institutions like the Monarchist League of Canada are all crazy about monarchy. But is it the best system? It's yes and no. As a matter of fact, no system in the world is perfect. For every system to be perfect, you need a certain parameters. Democracy is fine as far as the small city-states are concerned, or small countries like Switzerland are concerned. But when a country is as big as USA, the democracy loses its real meaning. But then they did a very sensible thing, that the federal structure was such that the states had almost as much power as the federal government had. And the president cannot do anything until and unless it declares an emergency, suspends the constitution, which has never happened in US. It has happened in India. So the unitary form of government is not susceptible or acceptable as far as the democratic things are concerned. You need to be more decentralized. In monarchy, you can be centralized. And when you're centralized, you can at least assure people certain modicum of comforts and the necessities of life. Is your directive. Of course, there have been cases where the kings were manipulated. And then, as I said, that was a degeneration to oligarchies. Now, coming to the monarchies, the system is viable. But what happens if the monarch is a king, like we had Tughlaq in India, the bright, intelligent man, but absolutely cut away from the reality. Monarchy can be successful as democracy can be successful given the certain parameters. A, the king should be hereditary, because the benefit of the hereditary king is the continuity of the tradition. But when the king is being trained in the hereditary system, when the children are being trained, they should be imbued with a sense of social commitment. And that's what I like about the British monarchy is that the princes have to deal with, or they're trained like common people. They go to the same schools and colleges. There are no specialized institutions for them. They have got to go and serve in army, navy, or air force. So they develop a certain connection with the people. Secondly, the expenditure incurred in the elections every 4 years or 5 years can be avoided. People often say that monarchies are more wasteful. Reality is not that. For example, let's take the case of India or Canada for that matter. The premier and the prime ministers are, for in Canada I'm talking about, 11 kings, one prime minister, and premier in each of the 10 provinces. So if there are 11 kings, they are spending as much as one person would spend if he was a king. And then, there is a certain inborn fear in these people. At the end of the 4 years, they might be thrown out. So, earn as much as possible. Despite the fact that they're going to get handsome pensions, there's always a desire. And then, when we talk of democracy, why do we forget that even democracies have spawned hereditary system? Look at the families. USA even today is ruled by 10 families. Trump is an exception. But right from the day USA became independent till today, 10 families have ruled USA. In India, till recently, it was only one family which was ruling. In Pakistan, there were 2 families which are ruling. Here in Canada, we have seen the hereditary system indirectly when Trudeau became the leader and the prime minister, simply because he happened to be the son of the Pierre Trudeau. The name impact. So the hereditary system is either there directly or indirectly. People invest the rule with a certain magical powers, and then they associate that person with power and accept it. So as far as the hereditary aspect is concerned, that can be ignored whether it's a monarchy or a democracy. The families will perpetuate their power directly or indirectly, by greed or by force. The benefit, as I said earlier, in a monarchy is that A, there's a continuity of policies, there's a sense of commitment. You see, the Indian concept was very clear. But absolute monarchy may not be acceptable. What you need is basically a monarchy at the federal level, at the central level, and decentralized power at the local level. If we can combine the two, the benefits of there can be there. Or there can be elected constitutional rule, as happened in Malaysia. Most of the people are not aware that Malaysia is a constitutional monarchy, as are all the Scandinavian countries, as is England. As a matter of fact, if we have a constitutional monarchy, it's still better than the democracy, for the simple reason there'll be continuity, and the monarch has 3 rights, which in fact give a certain ballast to the management. And the rights are the right to know, the right to warn, and right to be informed. And when those rights are exercised judicially in a proper manner, then they can be very helpful. They will openly not be a part of the politics, but they can always tell the prime minister, look here, I've been a king for 30 years, I've seen the things change, you're a new guy. Don't act like that. The Queen was really the Queen of Canada. She would have told Justin Trudeau to avoid the sort of tamasha that he had in India. And very quietly. It need not be publicized. So reversion to monarchy can be bad. Absolute monarchy, I mean. But in a way that we combine the benefits of monarchy and the benefits of other better parts of monarchy, the systems, and acceptable form of democracy, combine them and then make a system of governance. The head of the state is elected. You can elect it for life for once and let it be hereditary. You save on that and you give a blast to the governance of that country. However, there is one thing to be seen, that you need a change. No system in the world is going to be absolutely foolproof or perfect. The only thing is the system you adopt or accept should be less stupid than the present systems. Now, when we talk of democracy, I'm amazed. China made President Xi president for life. We had Sukarno earlier in Indonesia and Jamal Abdel Nasser in Egypt, presidents for life. So, if they can be presidents life, why can't we have a king? And then why repeat on getting a new king every time or a new president every time? Let's have it. Let the hereditary go further. It will save us from the annual expenditure. It will save the greedy people coming every 4 or 5 years, new people, hungry people, rather than the satiated family ruling the country, but not ruling exactly. They'll be reigning. There's a difference between rule and the reign. Let the monarchs reign. Let the duly elected people, where the people be rulers. But these elected people should be subject to recall and referendum. One thing I love about this land is that no law can be passed till it's approved with the people. Referendum is there on every law. And it's at all levels, right from the village to a city, to a municipal corporation, to a metro, to a canton, and ultimately to the federal level. So that's an involvement of the people, and the people, when they vote at that time, each law. They are not that foolish. They can be mistaken at times, but by and large, they understand that this law is ultimately going to be harmful for them or useful for them. So incorporate referendum and recall. Let the ruling be by the elected people, but let the reign be by the kings. This amalgam would be an ideal situation today. Don't you agree? Think about it. Thank you. Have a nice day.